Welcome back. You're still watching the morning show right here on E. And of course, I'm still joined by Mr. Kingsley Makhubela, joining us right now to talk about his, suspension rather, and him not being able to resume with his duties at Brand South Africa due to the current allegations made against him of sexual misconduct. And he's been cleared of those allegations, but still he has not been able to go back to work. Now, Mr. Makhubela, thank you for your time. But I just want to go back to the point that you mentioned where you say there seems to be a witch hunt against you with regards to the corruption cases that you've identified, the investigation processes you wanted to resume. However, then these allegations came about. What would be your next step should you then not be reinstated and therefore be able to commence with the investigation?
Well, the employer would have to decide if they keep on preventing me from going to the office was the course of action. We are a country based on the rule of law. There are checks and balances. The board can't do as they wish. They have to operate within the legal framework. That's fundamental. And so far, I'm operating within the legal framework. But I want to come back to this issue that I've been suspended. I'm not under any suspension. I don't have any suspension letter. They're just taking keys, access. I don't have access to go to the office. And my lawyers have written to them to tell them, I need access to go back to work. They're not providing that.
Right. Or a suspension letter. They don't give you the keys and you need some form of documentation to say why you cannot be at work.
Absolutely. But I think what we need to deal with as a country is to root out the culture of corruption and accumulation that we see across state entities. And I'm glad that the current president is quite firm in terms of dealing with that. And I want to be part of that. I want to be part of the team that will deal with corruption. I understand it comes at high risk. Can you imagine your children, my children, start reading about their father being subjected to this? And I have to explain to my kids, I have to explain to my family what's going on. It tears families apart. But I think it's worth doing it. There are people who sacrifice for this country. Why can't I take that sacrifice to deal with the issues of corruption? And I understand if I make allegations that this thing happened because of corruption and I'm lying, the state would have to deal with me. That's an obstruction of justice. I belong to jail if that is the case. So there's no one who's above the law. And that's how the system ought to work. But I think as a country, we need to rid ourselves of the culture of accumulation, which is driving this country down the drain. That I'm not going to run away from. I'm going to deal with it. If I were to run away from that, I'll be a coward, as I told you.
And speaking of with sacrifice, which you talk about right now, do you believe that you are part of, the leaders, or you fall victim of being part of leaders that when they try to root out corruption, then sudden allegations against them are made and brought up to silence them? Do you believe that's the case with you?
That's the case. If you look at this allegation was first made anonymously on the whistleblowing, not by the complainant, by somebody else, anonymously. And once I was cleared, once the board has gone through, they appointed a forensic investigation company. Once they've gone through, they cleared me. And then people then said, no, we're no longer going to hide our faces to come out. They went to drag somebody who used to work for Brand South Africa like 2 years ago. This person no longer works for Brand South Africa and say this happened. I tell you some of the things that I said in the hearing. The person said, when she was asked, what was the sexual harassment? She said, it was in his tone. What was in his tone? Could not explain what is in the tone. 5 days in the organization, somebody makes a determination that my tone is sexual harassment and couldn't define that. So you could see these things were trumped up. And of course, in the hearing, you can be prepared to lie, but the cross-examination is a total ball game. And that's when it became abundantly clear that, of course, somebody went to bring her. My suspicion is that somebody still paid her to come and do that. So the truth would one day come up as what was the intention. That was not the responsibility of the current presiding officers to make a determination if this happened. All the allegations that were made was cleared. And if you look at the report, it's quite damning on the character of the poor person who was used.
Well, Dr. Kingsley, thank you so much for your time, and we'll, of course, keep following on this particular story. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Sumit.
All righty then. Well, that's Mr. Kingsley Makhubela joining us right here on the morning show, and we'll keep, of course, updating you with regards to what happens, whether or not he'll be reinstated sooner or later, and the decision that will be taken by the board of Brand South Africa with regards to his reinstatement back into the organization. But on that note, let's take a look at your final recap of news headlines right here on the morning show. Up next.